Hey, welcome to Crossover Event. And man, do we have some events for you this time. Wow, the new Spider-Man trailer. Everybody's talking about it. We got some thoughts on that, do we not, Chris?
Yeah, I don't think everybody got exactly what they were hoping to see in it, but wow, there is a lot to talk about.
What else? What more could you want? Also, the MCU has told us what they're releasing in the next couple years, and it is a lot. We're going to cover as much of it as we can. So much to talk about.
Yeah, just the Disney Plus stuff alone, which is what we're discussing, is like, wow, this is a lot. Of course, no release dates, but hey.
Hey, just even knowing it's coming, it's like Christmas came early.
Can't have everything.
Join us. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. I resisted this for the longest time, but after the last 4 MCU movies, I've been experiencing some superhero movie fatigue. To be honest, I mean they've been good and sort of okay. This trailer has me super excited.
Well, I think both of us, Martin, Thomas, and I here, we both have said for years Spider-Man is our favorite superhero.
Sure.
Like, love him. Doesn't always live up to our expectations in the cinematic form, but even the last 2 Marvel films, I would say, didn't really completely, well, I know for you even more so, didn't match what we were hoping for.
Well, the Far From Home, I didn't like so much, but the Homecoming, I was absolutely in love with. It delivered on, I guess, the things that the last few movies didn't. But now, with this one, they've opened the door to so much, and especially bringing in Doctor Strange, the other goateed superhero to fill in for Peter Parker's mentor. It was pretty exciting. Yeah, no.
He's just got a thing for goateed older men.
Well, that's why I thought it was funny that when him and Tony Stark meet, they don't like each other. It's like, wait, what happened to facial hair bros?
Is that a thing?
Oh, yeah, it's a thing. Actually, it's a thing they did in the comics. You can look it up. But man, you watch this trailer and it just gives you everything imaginable, like something from all of the movies. And you got multiple versions of some characters. Green Goblin.
Yeah.
I mean, Willem Dafoe. Just hearing Willem Dafoe's laugh is enough to get me going with this. And Dr. Octopus. The moment where he goes, "Wait, you're not Peter." I'm like, oh,
what's gonna happen now?
And the different Spider-Man and the Spider-Man in the black suit who's suddenly using Doctor Strange's magic. I'm thinking this is an alternate version. Who he's like, "Hey, I'm hacking this."
We all know that Marvel's going into the multiverse, and the last trailer made clear that yes, Peter goes in and goes, "Hey, you know that whole thing where everyone in the world knows who I am now, and a lot of them are really mad, and they will put me on trial for murder? That sucks. Doctor Strange, you're I don't know a lot of guys I've got their phone number for, at the very least their address. I mean,
sure.
Strange's big downside is that everyone knows where he lives.
He lives on Bleecker Street.
He lives on Bleecker Street, right? It just
pretty easy.
Hello? Just keep banging until he answers. Jeez, I didn't order food. But he goes, "Can you please help me? You've got the magical timey-wimey stuff." And Doctor Strange, okay, sure. For whatever reasons, he agrees to help him.
Sure. It goes wrong saying, "Don't do it." And
it goes wrong.
Whatever.
There's a thing towards the end of this trailer where and they set it up because at the end of this trailer as if it feels like, oh, this is going to be a third act thing, but I suspect it's not. I suspect it's a first act thing of like, they're coming through with big purple threads through the sky. And I think that's going to be the point where they're like, okay, what's coming through is all these universes crushing together, because we are seeing characters and actors who have been in previous Spider-Man films outside of this continuity crushing together. It's the Marvel Final Crisis, but all starting, at least in the movies, on this particular movie, which will be going through phase 4. And I like that, they've got William Dafoe as the Green Goblin. They've got Thomas Hayden Church as the Sandman. They've got Rhys Ifans as the Lizard.
Yes.
They've got, what's his name? Doc Ock.
Alfred Molina.
Alfred Molina, who obviously is going to be one of the primary guys in here, because this trailer sets him up to be first like, Peter, I'm going to kill you, and then gets his mask off, goes, wait a minute, you're not Peter.
You're not Peter. Get out of here.
And then a little later, it's like all 3 of the main kid characters in his lair just chilling out, talking to him, and even like
kind of dunking on his name.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, so are they teaming up with Doc Ock? Is that what's going on?
Well, he is a scientist.
He is a scientist, bro.
Although this involves magic, so I don't know. Now, you might watch this trailer and go, conspicuously absent is Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, who we saw in the leaked photo. However, people have gone through and analyzed the big matchup with all the Spider-Man villains coming at Spider-Man and noticed how the Lizard is attacking someone who's not there.
Off screen. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So the theory is that the two Spider-Men have been digitally edited out of the trailer, which is a thing Marvel does.
I heard he's actually attacking Buzzsaw. So
Buzzsaw. Now, my big question is, which Venom are we going to get?
Oh yeah, because we've seen all the villains from the previous Spider-Man films except for the previous Venom.
Yes.
And the last Venom film established, okay, now he's crossed over. The question, are we going to get Venom at all? And one would think if we're going to get Venom in a Spider-Man film that this is or in the MCU, this is where they're going to shove him in there, and they're kind of keeping it. I don't know why they would at this point.
I mean,
keep it
I
pulled
personally,
back.
I'd rather see the Spider-Man 3 Venom just because he was an actual threat to Spider-Man. But, business being what it is and Sony trying to launch a whole new line, it would probably be the Tom Hardy Venom.
I would kind of like to see, bad Venom from the previous Spider-Man 3 come in, attacking Spider-Man, then Tom Hardy Venom going, hey, bro, that's my shtick. You don't get to do that. And then it's Venom versus Venom.
You know what? That'd be a great way to bring him in and make him that hero that he keeps telling us he is, but not showing us
like
that he is.
The Punisher level or the later years Venom level
Yes.
guy who's like, Spider-Man going, fine, I'll work with you.
Yes, I've murdered several people, but I'm popular, so they're making me an anti-hero now. Are you happy?
There are also reports in the trailer that people micro-analyzing it have seen that it looks like Goblin has two different looks in it, which suggests
Dane DeHaan
appearing in this as
the
well.
Green Goblin that no one liked.
And also, I'm curious about the black and gold uniform Spider-Man. The assumption is, Peter gets a new suit, as Peter often does, but are we sure that's not just one of these other alternate universe
I think it's an
Spider-Man?
alternate. I think it's one of the alternates who says there's no way I'm going back. And I know how, because you see him doing this. He's hacking the system. I think he's got to figure it out.
Dude,
he's going to be the real threat.
I wish they would introduce the Spider-Man Spider-Man character who literally is Peter Parker fell into a vat full of spiders, was devoured by them. And that Spider-Man is just an assemblage of spiders in human form. Oh my God, I love it. It's like the Lovecraft Spider-Man. I love it so much.
Okay, I'm not familiar with that, but it sounds awesome.
Oh yeah, that should totally happen. But this is clearly them going, wow, that animated film sure was popular.
That animated film was popular, and this deal we got with Sony, we don't know who we're dealing with. So if this is the last Spider-Man we got to make, we're going to pour in everything we got.
Oh, the deal may go on, though. We'll see.
Yeah, may or may not.
You're not throwing money outside of the room here, either Sony or Marvel. Marvel really wants to keep doing Spider-Man.
Sure they do. But like Peter made a deal with Mephisto, Marvel has made a deal with Sony.
Did he, though? Did he, though?
He did. We don't like it, but he did.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Danny Danger program. It's all Danny Danger, all the time. I'm so happy to have you here. Today we're going to be talking...
Hey, what's going on? How did the hell did we get over
what
here?
is
Oh,
this?
hey, guys.
Come on.
Hey.
Did you pull this again?
Yeah, I didn't know you guys
I
were
told you.
coming here.
It was only a matter of time before this happened.
That's awkward. Disney Plus Day gave us a bunch of really great announcements for Marvel's upcoming slot of shows. The first one being Spider-Man. Oh my God. Freshman year. I'm like, they're all high school. They're all so Spider-Man freshman year, which will be really great because I think it'll be a younger, sort of cuter Spider-Man. I love, there can never be too many animated Spider-Man shows. I binge watch all the time Ultimate Spider-Man because it's still so good. So anytime you tell me there's going to be a new Spider-Man animated series, and especially something that focuses on a little bit younger of an age group, I think is going to be a lot of fun, and I'm really excited.
Well, I know back in the day, our big thing was
Spectacular Spider-Man. I was about to say, hey, Martin, what's the best animated Spider-Man?
I know, because I was like, we had to go back to the song, Spectacular Spider-Man. That was the best cartoon, and it ended way too soon, 2 seasons, and they cut it off. So I'm always waiting for hey, pick that back up again. Yeah. And this sounds exciting, because it's Spider-Man, I guess, before Tony Stark comes in.
Yeah, it's fresh. It's, the movies go, nobody wants to see the whole origin story again. Nobody wants to see that again. And so we didn't. And now this is presumably we're going to get to see.
I initially agreed, and then I became no, without the death of Uncle Ben, this character doesn't have his meaning. So bring it on.
I don't know. I think we all know about the death of it. It's like, do you really want to see the pearls drop for Batman one more time?
That's happened a lot more than Uncle
Yeah.
Ben's death.
No, I don't think for the live action that it's necessary to see the whole rigmarole again, but for an animated series to explore it is fascinating to me also because it's clearly going to be geared towards kids, and you don't really see a lot of kids cartoons that are like, hey kids, let's talk about death.
That's true. But, you know, as we were saying, Spectacular Spider-Man, I kept thinking about that and going, yes, of course, this has got to stay within the MCU. I guess Spider-Man's one of their big, you know, cash cows. But at the same time, given what the next thing we're going to talk about of their shows, why couldn't they have just made the Spectacular Spider-Man go on? And that's going to be X-Men 97, which is a continuation of the classic 90s X-Men series, which is often thought by animation superhero fans of being the best animated superhero show ever. Now, yes, I watched all of it as it was coming out, and the animation is, you know...
Hey, but what it was, listen, back at that time, Batman the Animated Series was the gold standard.
Mm-hmm.
And so you couldn't always get gold, but at silver was X-Men and Spider-Man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
And that X-Men cartoon was a lot of people's introduction to the X-Men. They didn't know who they were. They didn't realize all those stories were taken from comics before. And so everything they know comes from that series.
Oh, yeah, and it was really kind of closely following the actual comic canon, which is shocking. It even ended where they've said is where it's picking up, which is Professor X has been grievously injured, and the X-Men, they don't know what to do, so they reach out to Magneto, their greatest archenemy, for help, who agrees to help them because, you know, down deep below, he cares for Professor X. They used to be really good friends. Except for when he doesn't. Well, you know, it's like they don't disagree on a basic tenet, you know. But, and then Lilandra appears and takes him off to Professor X off to the Shi'ar homeworld, and it ends with the X-Men and Magneto together, which is definitely where the comics went.
Mm-hmm.
Picking up from there, that's exciting to a lot of people. We've never seen a filmed version of this particular aspect, the X-Men, which is still that's like 30 years ago now. But
sure,
you know,
yeah, oh yeah, absolutely.
But either way, they are bringing back the bulk of the voice cast for this, which I think is really, really going to be exciting as hell. There are some new people that are coming into this because some people are just not going to be available, but they're not going with celebrity voices. They're going with professional voice actors on this, and I think that's cool as well. And it's being showrun by the guy who just recently did that Witcher animated series for Netflix, which actually was pretty well received.
I'm insanely pumped because, of course, like I grew up on this cartoon, and also I think it's impactful for a lot of like feminine people because it was one of the few cartoons where you had like an ensemble cast of like equal parts male characters and female characters, and like the same number of like female superheroes. Like a lot of time, Batman the Animated Series is great, but most of the women that we have to look up to in that show are evil, which is also lovable, but different. And so like, I just remember like, I remember that if you were a little girl in that time and you wanted to play superheroes, you could play X-Men. And it was just like so revolutionary and impactful and still like makes an impression on me. It's the reason why I'm so obsessed with Storm is from that show.
No, that was the big thing about the X-Men when they became the new X-Men was it wasn't just like, hey, we're bringing in international superheroes, but it was like, hey, this is really the book for superheroes of maybe the disenfranchised who weren't elsewhere. And yes, you're right, strong female cast. Storm is one of the best characters. Like when I play any of the Marvel games, I always choose Storm because she has the best power set.
I like Mohawk Storm.
Oh, yeah. Give us Mohawk Storm in 97. Please, please, please. That would be so amazing. Like, hello, kitten.
So, WandaVision ends, and we're left with what is the fate of Agatha Harkness, the breakout character from that series, with a series that had a lot going for it. So next coming up on Disney Plus is going to be House of Harkness, or Agatha House of Harkness, where we get to see what happens with her, or maybe even a prequel. It's interesting because Catherine Hahn completely stole the show. And the whole segment they did using the Munsters theme had everybody who was like, I think I like this show, going like, oh, I love this show. So the idea of her getting a spinoff has people excited, just not even knowing what it's about. And we don't even have a lot of details about it. Just that they thought about having her trying to steal Wanda's power to resurrect her mother. and then abandoned it. Maybe it was been too much of a detour, possibly. Also, they were dealing with COVID while they were shooting that. So now here's a full chance to explore that. Something I thought was interesting was how they made her a villain in the series, where Agatha Harkness has always been a witch for good, as a babysitter for the Fantastic Four, and even a mentor for Wanda. So I'm thinking this series is going to be about her being chaotic, but ultimately her redemption.
Yeah, I think her redemption arc is what we're looking at. But I also wouldn't be surprised to see if they go with some of the prequel stuff here, because we saw that she goes all the way back to the Salem witch trials.
Mhm.
So I wouldn't be shocked at all if we get a lot of flashbacks in her over the ages and doing her Agatha thing.
Well, and I think that was one of the biggest questions that, people walked away from WandaVision with, is like, okay, but why? Why did she do this? What are the details of this? And we have sort of an idea, but there's a big time jump in between when she takes the powers from her coven and when she finds Wanda. And there's so much that probably has happened in that period of time to explain why she's so hell-bent on getting a hold of Wanda's powers or harnessing that power that Wanda has. And so I'm very much looking forward to the spooky Catherine Hahn comedy hour.
And that's the thing, that if you've learned nothing from the TV show Lost, is you don't count somebody as evil until you see their whole story. Because the writers can always go back and go like, well, yeah, they did that, and that was kind of dickish, but look what happened before.
What
and now
is evil, really?
Plus, we see how out of control Wanda can be, and you're like, maybe she had a point.
Almost every superhero has made some bad decisions along the way. I mean, the aforementioned Mephisto Spider-Man, just saying. Oh, wait, no, that's the executive.
Okay. It's okay.
That's the head producer of Marvel Comics.
We can let that go now.
No,
well,
can we?
but if there's been a lot of rumors circulating around the idea that like Wanda's next appearance will be her as sort of like the villain or the bad guy, and when you're talking about like putting her up against someone like Doctor Strange, like Doctor Strange is going to need as much help as anybody fighting against Wanda is going to need as much help as possible, and I think that the show might be setting her up, Agatha, in a way up to sort of be that force that maybe helps to fight Wanda, or what I hope is to that force that like helps pull Wanda back from the edge and say I'm sorry I did this to you. This is my redemption arc of saving the world from you and from this emotional turmoil that I caused. And let's hold hands and sing Kumbaya. And it's going to be beautiful. I want them to hug.
Which is odd because the ending of WandaVision more presages the House of M miniseries than it does what they seem to be doing with the parallel universes, which maybe that's phase 5?
Can they House of M without mutants, though?
I mean, mutants are coming, Danny.
I know they are.
They're coming.
Yeah, they keep saying that, but then they give
But
us...
I'll believe it when it's in...
They say mutants are coming, but they go like, oh, but here's Inhumans. Oh, but here's Eternals.
They haven't even given us Inhumans.
Where's mutants?
They've just given us Ms. Marvel.
Yes, and miracles.
And speaking of maybe Inhumans, we did get a nice little teaser trailer for the upcoming Ms. Marvel production, which was supposed to come out at the end of this year, but obviously the world happened and it's coming out next year. But I am so thrilled, and there's a lot of questions about like whether or not Kamala's joining the MCU will signify the rise of Inhumans, or if her powers are explained by a latent X gene. So we're really getting into those stories where it's hard for us not to speculate about introducing new corners of the Marvel Universe, because otherwise how else is she going to get her powers?
Well, I tell you, just the little bit I read, because they don't have a lot of details, but it didn't sound like they were going with her being an Inhuman.
Yeah.
It sounded like they're doing something alternate, because you got to figure at this point, Inhuman is going to be, box office poison. Or it's just something when people read or hear that, they might go like, nah, pass. And it's a perfect opportunity to just do something completely different.
Yeah, Inhuman is code in the MCU now for, oops, we don't like to talk about that. And that was Anson Mount, for God's sakes. How did that fail? Well, it's the only MCU thing I haven't seen.
He can't do everything. It's like a quarterback who has no offensive line.
But I suspect, and this is just me guessing right now, that maybe this is going to be the one where they tease the beginning of the mutants and the X-Men.
It's a perfect time to do it.
If there was ever a time to really bring this into here, it would be right now.
Introduce the concept.
For this. although there's nothing like that specifically on paper that we have to go with,
Right,
there
right.
are a couple other side characters here, like Red Dagger, who in the comics is a friend of the family, but who lives in Pakistan with a family home there, who will be introduced as a character, or at least that person, and I presume they're not living in Pakistan in this particular version. And then there's another guy who's like another Inhuman in the comics, who is can use bioluminescence to blow shit up. I'm not sure why bioluminescence blows shit up. But,
Yeah, it seemed like it would just like make it glow.
Yeah.
Like oh, I can see it now.
Yeah. He's the cleric of the party.
So Miss Marvel, she's getting introduced in the next Captain Marvel movie, if I'm not correct.
She will be appearing in Marvels, but I believe this is her introduction.
Yes.
Oh, okay. She's getting introduced in the TV.
And I do think that her power source, in addition to possibly having something to do with a latent X gene, will be a little more closely tied to Carol's story, because like Monica's story, there's been some implications in WandaVision that like she was only able to travel through that hex grid because she already had some latent powers that were maybe attached to her relationship with Carol growing up. And we don't really know a lot about that, but I have the feeling, and especially when you look at like clips of Kamala getting her powers and pictures of Monica and pictures of Carol, you see a lot of similarities in how like the power is sort of represented artistically.
Sure.
And so it makes sense for all of them to have like a similar origin story or coming into power story that kind of comes all together in the Marvels.
Okay.
So I'm really excited for that. If this is a latent X gene story, I'm gonna need them to do the Wolverine Kamala
friendship. Wolverine is friends with an
do it in
awful lot of
powers.
teenage girls.
Yeah,
in the comics.
he does. If there's a new teenage girl on the team, he
Every
takes them
time.
under his wing.
Yeah.
Another really great show that they just gave us a little teaser image for is going to be the Echo show, which I'm really stoked about, and glad that I was very surprised that they were already announcing that from the get-go, especially since we haven't yet seen her character appear in Hawkeye. Some of us haven't yet seen her character appear in Hawkeye. But I'm super pumped because to me, this is all but like straight up confirmation that they are bringing in the Netflix MCU. So like, you know, Charlie Cox as Daredevil, Vince Vaughn as Wilson
Vincent
Fisk.
D'Onofrio.
Vincent D'Onofrio.
Yeah.
Oh my
That would
God,
be
Vince
interesting.
Vaughn?
I mean, Vince Vaughn could
That
probably
would be
do
I
it.
could
so
watch
funny.
that.
He
I would watch
absolutely
that.
could.
I would watch that.
Absolutely could. But Vincent D'Onofrio as the like his incredible transformation into Wilson Fisk is like like award-worthy performance.
Well, I think we should slow down because they keep saying, no, we're not bringing in the Netflix
They are
characters."
liars.
I know. They lie all the time.
They have confirmed
but
Charlie
there's
Cox.
been confirmation of Charlie Cox having at least a scene in the new Spider-Man movie. And they said he would be Matt Murdock in the She-Hulk series.
Yep.
Yeah.
That
So
makes sense.
that does open the door. And it was that thing of like, all right, okay, we get that you're going to kill off and not acknowledge the Netflix heroes, but come on, Daredevil.
Yeah.
Everybody liked that.
Hey,
That
so
worked.
We all agreed on Daredevil. I think, like, at least for the first season, we all agreed on Jessica Jones. And God, I love Jessica Jones. I wish they'd bring her and the Purple Man back.
And Mike Coulter, you
Mike
need a
Coulter.
Luke Cage.
I mean, the series were mixed, but he was great.
Yeah, he was
You
great.
know?
Yeah,
As long
I
as
can't
there's
think of
no
anybody else
Iron
as Luke
Fist.
Cage.
We're like,
Yeah.
no Iron
Yeah,
Fist.
that's what it came down to.
But Echo is a character who is deaf, but like she's like Daredevil in reverse.
Except she can't hear.
Yeah, except she can't hear, instead can't see, but she can mimic people's movements and what have you. She's kind of a taskmaster type of mimic, I guess, right? And here it seems like they're sort of transmuting what's going on in the comics. See, this is where I disagree with you, Danny, because you're assuming they're bringing in the Kingpin as she is part of the comics. I think that that's not what they're going to do. I think that, like in the comics, Kingpin has her set up believing that Daredevil killed her father when in fact it was Kingpin. I think they're going to twist it here where she thinks Hawkeye killed her father, but it's not Kingpin, it's somebody else entirely. And God knows there's lots of villains. When we see her in the series, reportedly, she appears as a member of the Tracksuit Mafia, sort of a second-tier gang level leader. So
Yeah, she's the boss of the Tracksuit Mafia. But if what you're saying is true, and that does make sense, then he's got her trying to kill him as well as White Widow. Which, hey, that makes for a good story, because it's funny in the Hawkeye, he just wants to get back to his family, but he has all this other shit he has to deal with because of Kate Bishop.
Yeah, and it's Christmas time. Why didn't Shane Black direct this? I'm just saying. seems
He
fun.
just wants to get the most popular toy for his kids, but stupid Sinbad keeps getting in the way and stopping it in his tracksuit. That's what happens, right?
That's my biggest hope. My biggest hope for this phase 4 with the multiverse is that at some point the Sinbad movie is like
Oh
playing.
yeah, oh, yeah.
Look at
Absolutely.
the Sinbad Genie movie. I want to
They
see
got to
that.
stick it in the background.
So a long time ago in Marvel Comics, there was this spin-off bit they did called Ultimate Comics that was like, ooh, it's like a parallel universe for Marvel, but much more dark and grim. Well, except for Ultimate Spider-Man, which was like, one of the best comics Marvel ever made. In my opinion.
Sure.
But they also did this book called Ultimate Fantastic Four, which started super strong, didn't keep as super strong as it went, but it did do this remarkable thing for them, which is introducing Marvel Zombies, which is a parallel universe where they, Reed, of course, goes, let's just open this wormhole. What's the worst that can happen? And there's a world where the zombie virus broke out and a lot of the superheroes became zombies. Yada, yada. Well, Marvel went, that's great. We're just going to take that one thing and we're going to do this. So this new animated show, which of course we saw introduced in the What If series, starts from that. The original books were written by Robert Kirkman, and I know they weren't to everybody's taste, but they sure were to mine. I love horror. I love zombies. I love Marvel.
It was a fun thing in the beginning. It was almost like a joke, like a novelty.
And it's not like you open the pages and be like, oh, that's an unpleasant surprise. You know what you're walking into.
Yeah. You got to go through it. It was fun. And then it's like, okay, that was cool. I like that. And wait, you're doing more? You won't stop making them?
They will not stop.
Of course, this is how it goes with zombies.
People love zombies, man. How many seasons of The Walking Dead? And now multiple spinoffs. There's a new spinoff on the way too, by the way, in case you didn't know.
Are you serious?
Yes, it's never going to stop. Yeah, there's supposedly a series of like 4 movies with Andrew Lincoln's character coming back. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
The point is, Marvel Zombies, when we see it in the What If, that world has been, it's over for that world, right? So either this is going to be a prequel to that story, or it's going to be some variation on that story, like another world with zombies. But it has been a fun story in the comics, and I kind of look forward to seeing what they do with this, although prepare, because, characters are going to die. That's how this works.
No, that's what makes it fun.
Yeah.
With zombies, you can kill characters.
And then they're not dead.
And they're not really dead.
Yeah.
Or they're undead.
More hungry for brains, but they still, like Spider-Man is still doing his shtick, but he's like, brains.
So is he Stephen Grant, the cab driver? Or Mark Spector, the mercenary? Or Moonknight, the knight, the hand of Khonshu, the Egyptian god? I don't know. I guess we'll find out. One of the Disney Plus shows that I'm excited about that I normally would not have been is Moonknight, which is going to star Oscar Isaac, who has in the last year become my favorite actor. This guy is so intense, even when it doesn't even call for it. And of course, with this, he's doing all the training, and he's playing a superhero who is similar to Batman, except where you go like, well, Batman's a little nuts. No, Moonknight does have dissociative identity disorder.
Yeah, confirmed by Kevin Feige, for the record.
Oh yeah. And in his initial outing, he had the 3 personalities I mentioned, but then in a later incarnation, he has the personalities of all the Avengers that he switches out of, where sometimes he thinks he's Captain America, and sometimes he thinks he's Wolverine or any other Avengers. But I believe from what we've seen with this series, it's going to go more into Egyptology. They're comparing it to Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
The director is from Egypt and and talks about like how that's a big influence, and I love that because I'm always worried if we're pulling from the mythology from another country or people, are we like doing that in a respectful way?
Are we grave robbers doing a story about grave robbers?
Yeah. So I'm very excited, and I think that they're going to treat the DID with a lot of respect and care as well, which was a big deal for me.
And 4 of the 6 episodes are by that Egyptian director who's a big deal in Egypt apparently, but this is his first English language project. But the other 2 are by Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead, are 2 of the best horror directors in the whole world. I love to pieces their movies, The Endless and Synchronic and Spring. They're so good. And years ago at a festival, I was hanging out with them and I said, you know what? If y'all ever get big, you know what MCU film y'all would be great for? Just guess. What was it, Martin? What film did I say they'd be great for?
I don't know. You dropped some names down here, and I'm trying to pick them up.
Marvel also announced that they showed us a little preview of the new She-Hulk series. It's going to be 10 episodes. It's going to be like a legal comedy, which sounds really amazing, and I'm so excited. I'm obsessed with She-Hulk. I really love that Dan Slott run. Say whatever you will about Dan Slott. That was a great run. It was a lot of fun.
He's killing it on Fantastic Four right now.
Yeah. But I love that She-Hulk run, and it's one of the first comics that I read when I got into comics. So I'm very much in love with that character, and especially like with us having conversations about Charlie Cox's Daredevil, and you've got, you know, Bruce Banner's definitely going to make plenty of appearances. There's a lot of talk about where this fits in the timeline because of his arm sling and him being in Hulk form or not in Hulk form. So this will be very interesting to see maybe what happened with him in those 5 years between the snaps.
Yeah. And then you get Mark Ruffalo coming back as the Hulk, which is nice to see him in one of these shows. I love Ruffalo so much. And reportedly, he is one of the nicest people to work with in the world. So, like, really always like, give Ruffalo more
Wouldn't you
work.
be shocked if you found out he wasn't?
Yeah, I know. You'd be like, really? That guy? I'm so sure, though. And then you've got Jamila Jamil from The Good Place playing Titania, who is like a classic She-Hulk villain / sometimes working together with her. And this sounds like it's going to just be enormous amounts of fun.
I hope it is. And Tatiana Maslany in Orphan Black, you're like, she can do anything, play any character. So there's a lot to be excited about. I will admit that when I hear legal comedy, I think back to not so much Ally McBeal, but the failed Wonder Woman pilot, where that was how they sold it, was it was going to like, oh, it's going to be like Ally McBeal. And it's like, I feel like they're going to do it right this time.
I feel like with her breaking the fourth wall as well and being a fourth wall breaking character, I wonder if there will be like a throwaway joke about that.
Yeah.
Because that fits.
Yeah, I wonder, because she has been treated by multiple writers as more of a comedic character, and this being a comedy, and lots of, almost Deadpool-ish, like fourth wall breaking.
Sure.
But also, one of the classic things for her to do in the comics when she has to be a lawyer is to be involved with the suit against another superhero.
Yeah.
And I bet you anything that's where they're going with this, and they're being standoffish about who that hero might be.
I know who it is. I don't know who it is, but I think it's Eros. I'm ready for
the love affair between the two of them.
Well, not just the love affair, but like I'm ready for them to actually properly have the conversation that they staged in the comics about his powers and consent. That they actually didn't follow through on and made it this weird like rigmarole of like Thanos is puppeting some people. It was really stupid, the ending of that story. So I would really like to see that rewritten and better. And I think this casting and the attitude that they seem to have towards the show actually makes sort of a perfect space to have that conversation in the modern MCU, and I'm here for it. And also, if she wants to hook up with Harry Styles, I don't blame her, because like, hey,
he's Harry Styles.
Yeah.
We get I Am Groot. Now, we don't really even know if this is going to be live action. It's going to be animated.
It's animated.
Did they say it was animated? Yeah. Okay. So, in the comics, there was a comic called I Am Groot, where Groot gets separated from the Guardians of the Galaxy by a wormhole, and he's left to, again, this is when he's tiny, baby Groot, and he's left on his own on an alien planet that literally no one's discovered before, filled with multiple different societies and different aliens, and he's got to work his way through all that. Nobody knows what this is going to be about, but Feige has said it's about him meeting a bunch of colorful new characters. Question mark? We don't know. I like Groot. I assume Vin Diesel will be back, put through a voice filter, so his rasp is a little more high pitched.
Does he just like spend like 5 minutes going, I am Groot, and they just copy it over? Like he does it in different ways, like 12 different times, and they're like, all right, well, we can use this one here, and use this one here, and use this one
Best
here.
Voice actor gig ever.
He can't keep getting new checks for that. But yeah, this I Am Groot, it's going to be a series of shorts.
Yeah. One thing that I thought was really interesting is somebody posited that that sort of like terraforming superpower substance that they introduced in What If could possibly be connected to what Groot is made out of, or his origin story. And I'm curious to see if that's true and if that is something that the series explores.
Okay, we can't see every show we're looking forward to, but I am looking forward to Ironheart. And she might be a character that you're not that familiar with, but I was heavy into Iron Man at the time. And when Tony Stark sort of died, as he tends to do, and his consciousness was elsewhere, we had Riri Williams in Detroit, who was a prodigy, MIT at 14 years old, and kind of built her own Iron Man armor, to the point where Tony Stark, while still alive, said like, hey, I recognize you, kid, and I'm going to give you the AI to make this suit real. And he was in her, as Jarvis is with him, as she tooled around. And so here we have Riri Williams, who is going to first appear as Ironheart, or maybe at least the character Riri Williams will be in Wakanda forever. Black Panther 2.
Right.
Which is, this will be a character much like the Williams sisters who will inspire many young girls of color. I'm super excited about this show because there's so much they can do. They kind of ruined her costume in the comics, so here's a chance to make it super cool again. It's going to be played by Dominic Thorne, who was previously in Judas and the Black Messiah, and even If Beale Street Could Talk. Is there a release date for this?
No, there's no strict release date other than obviously after Black Panther 2.
Sure.
But yeah, I think I love her character in the comics. If I'm not mistaken, all right, so Marvel always puts out their list. I don't know why they do this and who calculates it, but of who are the smartest characters in the Marvel universe.
Right.
And the last time they did it, she was the #1 smartest character in the Marvel universe.
Was she? Because a lot of times they make it Moon Girl.
Yeah, no, it was her in this case.
Okay.
Yeah. I was like,
Okay.
really?
All right.
But they're all in. Marvel's all in on the younger characters, the new characters of color, which leads to a lot of like, is Young Avengers coming? Because I think Young Avengers is coming.
Well, the thing you have to admire about the MCU is that these characters came out. They had a wave of younger characters who were, different races, different sexual orientations, all kinds of things. And even like, when you had the female Thor. And then they got a bunch of, quote unquote, blowback on it for, everything's getting too woke and where's my real characters? And in the comics, they kind of caved. They had a good thing going. They could have stuck it out. They kind of caved. Well, I'm happy to see that the MCU is going like, nope, we got Disney money. So we're going to go forward with this. We have a mission, and they're accomplishing it.
So lastly, we have Secret Invasion, which of course is going to be one of the big shows for them because it was one of the biggest, most epic, most game-changing Marvel events in comics. I mean, we're back in the days when Martin and I were on a show called League of Extremely Ordinary Gentlemen on Spill.com. We talked about it pretty much every week as it was going on, like a lot.
Well, plus it it fit right into Civil War. Like before Civil War had quite ended, and you thought you had the exclamation point on it. It was like, but Secret Invasion though. Who in this war was even who they said they were?
And here we're getting Samuel Jackson returning, of course, as Nick Fury, and Ben Mendelsohn returning as Talos, the friendly Skrull, the Skrull we like. The Skrulls. You're one of the good ones.
You're one of the good ones, yeah.
But there is no introduction really of bad Skrulls at this point in the universe. So far, we're like, no, it's the Kree who are bad. Which, to be fair, even in the comics, the Kree are, in fact, most of the time pretty bad.
No, it's a race of dicks.
Right, but now Feige has said with this live-action 6-episode series that yes, there have been Skrulls who've been here for a while, slowly integrating themselves into society, and I suspect it's going to be kind of about there are different splinters of the Skrull civilization, which there are as well in the comics. So I like that, and I suspect that this is going to be one of the last coming out of these series that we're talking about. I suspect, because there's a lot of stuff that has to build up to this, and I think there's going to be a little bit of a clue and something else early on suggesting the existence of hidden Skrulls. I bet you anything in either one of the movies or one of the shows, we're going to see somebody die and then they turn into a Skrull and they're like, what the hell? What is that thing? Guarantee it. So I hope, much like the comic books, we're going to be getting a lot of, so a character we're already familiar with has been a Skrull for a while. And people have already been speculating about this, even before they announced officially this show.
But here's the question. Which Skrulls were Hydra agents? That would make them double agents.
Even they're confused, right? I don't know. But Olivia Colman is going to be in this as well, which, she's a big get right now. And I am super excited about her being in this. This is the one out of all these I'm most excited for because it was one of my favorite Marvel event runs. I love the Skrulls. I'm a big fan. That's one of the reasons I think I like Captain Marvel more than a lot of people because I'm like, oh my God, I love the Skrulls so much. And we finally get the Skrulls. And he's a nice Skrull and I want to hug him and I want a plush
was not prepared for him to be a nice Skrull, gotta say.
No. Do you think that we've already seen Skrulls in the MCU?
Oh, absolutely.
I think we absolutely have.
Who do you think is a Skrull?
Ooh.
Well, they could be pulling the way that they did in the comics where a character who died...
Yeah.
Turns out they were not, in fact, dead, that was a Skrull replacement, and that character has been sitting on board, in hyperstasis on a Skrull ship somewhere. I wouldn't be surprised if that someone who they choose to bring back might be that way. I know some people were suggesting, I don't know, maybe it's Black Widow, maybe it's...
now the lawsuit is settled, maybe. Don't count anybody out.
But that is going to be it for this week's crossover event. Thanks for watching and listening. You can see Martin over at Double Toasted.
Thank you.
You can see Danny right here at Bell of Lost Souls. And you can see me at oneofus.net. And if you go to oneofus.net and become a subscriber at the $5 level or above, you get access to bonus material for this show, which we do every single week after the episode with like a whole different thing. And this week we're going to be talking about what else are we watching and super crazy excited about right now, which oh man, I'm really dying to talk about this thing. I'm so, haven't got to talk about it anywhere, so I'm just really thrilled.
I'll let you talk about it.